excellent day for an exorcism.
I see dead people.
Suffering will be legendary even in hell.
It's alive!
Fear on Film.
Hey, I'm Sean,
And I'm Joe,
and welcome to the podcast.
where we talk about fear, jump scares,
Gory kills, the brutal, the gruesome,
and the not so gruesome.
all in the disturbed and morbid love for horror.
Welcome back to Fear on Film, our monthly dive into horror. Alrighty, well, happy Friday the 13th, everybody.
Oh, Joe, I loved hearing that Friday the 13th. It still scares me deep in my bones.
Tell me about it. It's so iconic. I mean, and to think, there was a time in our history when Friday the 13th, the mere utterance of those words were just, oh, it's going to be a fucked up day. Jason was not even a thing, It's kind of hard to think that there was no Jason, no Friday the 13th as we know it today.
Look, I think the interesting thing is the franchise turned into what it was. Same with Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry, Lowell Greenblatt. I love your sweet face. But these franchises kind of turn into a little bit of like a mockery, a fun-loving mockery of what they started out to be. But I want to remind everybody that the first Nightmare on Elm Street was nightmare fuel. And the first two Friday the 13th, especially Friday the 13th Part 2, scared the pajama pants off a generation of moviegoers. I mean, even maybe 3 to a certain extent, but then it kind of had that hokey concept of 3D. But those early films in the franchise, holy cow. Same thing. I mean, look, I will die on this hill. Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween is, if you see that in 35 millimeter on the big screen, it is going to be one of the scariest experiences you've had. I don't care how jaded a horror movie fan you are. You see Halloween up on a big screen, it captures the audience, because this just happened to me just 2 years ago. It completely throws a wet blanket over the audience of fear. You could have heard a pin drop. So no matter what these franchises eventually turn out to be, and boy, oh boy, my buddy, are we going to get into a franchise today?
Oh, yeah.
The fact of the matter is, they start out very sincere and genuine in trying to scare your backbone into the shape of a pretzel.
And I think the further in these franchises, the deeper they got more formulaic. And so, well, this worked in part 4. Let's do this only this way. And, they kind of try to rehash a lot of ideas. I mean, you look at even the Chucky, the Child's Play series. I recently saw the original Child's Play, and Jesus, it is a genuine horror film.
It is. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. And it's funny because so many years have passed since I'd seen it. I was expecting a wisecracking Chucky and more comedy and more, cheesy, because that's what its series became. But the first one was a genuine horror film, like you said, with Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all these franchises, it's just so iconic. And I love this stuff. I mean, I have the first 3 of each franchise, and that's it.
Joe, can I put you on the spot for a little bit? I kind of love doing this. Before we get into it, we have so much to talk about, but I love testing my buddy and quizzing my buddy and get your opinion. What do you think the most successful horror movie franchise has been in terms of, and I'll qualify it, in terms of keeping the scares not like becoming watered down and diminished, or perhaps even growing in terror? So, even expanding on how terrifying it eventually becomes from the first film. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned, because it is actually the franchise that we're going to be discussing today, Final Destination. I don't think it has gotten dry.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And, well, we're going to get into that, but that's, to me, that's my pick as far as it hasn't diminished in its appeal. I mean, granted, you've had some, low points in the franchise, but not rock bottom. I mean, you go, well, this one was only a 7, and a 7 is a damn good score, whereas the one before was an 8, and then the next one will be a 9. And so I don't think it's dipped that much in quality and in its ability to sustain the scares and the interest and the fascination with the subject itself of the franchise. So yeah, that's my pick right there.
I'd agree with you. I think that in certain, and we're going to talk about Bloodline. I think it's successful in expanding the universe, adding new facets to the mythology, expanding on that mythology, hopefully not painting itself into a corner. We'll definitely have to talk about that. But I agree with you. I think it didn't lose anything. It just added to the formula. I don't think it subtracted to it.
Absolutely. So now, before we continue with this, I want to make an announcement. And it's, on one hand, I'm heavy-hearted with it, but at the, with the decision I've made. But on the other hand, it's kind of exciting because I'm opening up new venues of projects that I want to partake in the future. The Filmjoe Podcast, my other podcast that I work on, this will be its final season, as I have mentioned on my most recent episode of the Filmjoe Podcast. So it is coming to an end.
You just freaked me out because I thought that you were just going to tell everyone that we're breaking up before prom. And I was going to start to cry, and everyone was going to hear it, and I was going to feel really bad.
No, I'd wait till after the prom. Don't worry about that. No, oh man, but yeah, I feel that, I'm very proud of what we have created over there with the Filmjoe Podcast, and it was my introduction into the podcasting world, and I got to meet a lot of amazing people, present company especially included.
You scamp.
But it's just been an amazing journey, and so with that, I'm going to kind of some other projects I want to take care of. I want to focus more on Fear on Film, which is my passion right now. Now, keep in mind, Filmjoe, it'll still be on and available, all the backlog. I'm not going to ever take those down, but it will kind of live on in little mini episodes. I will continue to do my flash reviews. So those will still be coming out through the Filmjoe Podcast feed. And that's another reason I haven't been able to do my flash reviews. I've just been so busy. So
it's a lot of work. Well, yeah. Joe, selfishly, for two things. First, I want to say you, Daisy, and then eventually the addition of Liz, you guys did a phenomenal job. I loved every single episode. I will keep going back to the episodes because, to your point, they're not going anywhere. They're still going to be there. You've got an incredible canon of work with Filmjoe. You're still going to be doing the flash reviews, which I think is fantastic. And the second part is, selfishly, I still get you, bud. I mean, I still got you for Fear on Film. So, we'll take this in the direction that you and I both want it to go, and we'll have fun along the way. But I will say this, you are hands down one of the most talented and creative people that I have ever met. And I know that Filmjoe is this perfect encapsulation of your skill. And then I know that, you're a young whippersnapper. There's so much on the horizon for you. I am lucky enough to benefit from being your co-host for Fear on Film, but I just know that the future is just yours for the taking, and I cannot wait to see what you do down the road if you choose to take on any other endeavors. I'm breathless with anticipation.
Well, thank you so much. That's very, very, very kind.
No pressure.
And and to me, being able to work with you, keep in mind, I want to let everybody know that I met you in a sense of, I was a fan first. I listened to your podcast with Shannon, which was Sinful Cuts, and
what did we do on Sinful Cuts? I can't even remember the movie.
We did The Howling, actually.
Shit, you're right. Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I started off as a fan, listening to you guys every day and going over your backlog. And when I finally got in touch with you and I got to work with you on that episode for The Howling, it was awesome. I was kind of starstruck almost, because I'm like, wow, I'm talking to Sean and Shannon. These guys are awesome. And to be able to work with you now regularly on this podcast, it is a definite pleasure and a privilege.
Well, thank you so much, bud. And it goes right back to you. When I did those episodes, when we did Reanimator and we did Cujo, I had so much damn fun. I mean, Liz was a new friend, and she's phenomenal, and she's got so much, going on in her own podcast world. So, she's busy as hell, and I just adore Daisy. So yeah, and just I'm thrilled for all of you that you have this body of work that you should be so proud of, and that everybody can check out, because it's going to be there for eternity. And like I said, you're just too creative a person to not do something incredible in the future. So, like I said, no pressure, but we're waiting.
Well, thank you so much. And let's see what happens. Let's see. Now let's address something to the listeners. Now, last episode, we announced that we were going to cover Until Dark on our next episode.
We did.
But Sean brought up a great point. You want to tell the listeners what you brought up?
Well, Joe and I got so excited when we were creating the calendar for the movies that we were going to review. But one thing that neither one of us took into account was the time lapse. So Until Dawn came out last month. By the time we were going to drop this recording on Friday the 13th, which is when you're listening to it right now, June 13th, at that point, the movie's damn near 2 months old. And to be honest, it didn't really resonate. We don't have a crystal ball. We can never tell if a movie is going to land with an audience, if it's going to have any kind of cultural significance or impact. But Until Dawn, unfortunately, did not. And a 2-month gap with a movie that really, kind of came and went in its first week would not really be an interesting listen. So Joe and I put our thinking caps on, and we checked out the calendar and what was closer to when this episode's going to drop. And boy, oh boy, if Final Destination Bloodlines didn't just scream off the page at us. So here we are.
Yeah, exactly. And what a great pick. I mean, and we're going to get into it. I'm bursting at the seams to get into that, because this movie is something else. So what is it? I want to get into some trailers, some movies that are coming up that look really interesting that I've seen the trailers for. So there's this new film from Neon with Dave Franco and Alison Brie. It's called Together.
Mm-hmm. Yup.
What the hell is this? Beautiful trailer, by the way. Neon, they know how to cut a trailer, because I don't know what the hell it is. A24, these guys, they cut trailers, don't give away a lot, but get you it's the appetizer, not the entire meal, which is what a lot of trailers do. Wow. What were your takes on that trailer, man?
I love the trailer. I watched it once, and then Joe, my rule. I have a little a moose bouche of a trailer. I watch the first one, which is typically a teaser, and then I run away from it screaming into the night, because I enjoy my horror films unspoiled. And even a teaser, they can't help themselves but to give away a plot point or two, or a meaningful death or two. So I really loved it. Now, look, I do have to talk about one thing, and this is really not. We're gonna turn this into like TMZ and entertainment tonight here for a hot second. This movie, unfortunately, has some backlash against it. It turns out that a screenplay that was introduced to Dave, and again, I should always preface this with allegedly.
Okay.
We really won't know anything until, it all comes out in the wash, which it typically does, unless someone is given a bag of money, and then you never find out, But the story right now is that there were two screenwriters who wrote a film that was almost beat by beat the same as what Together eventually became. Now, to make matters even worse, it seems that these screenwriters actually had a meeting with Alison Brie and Dave Franco back in 2020. So it doesn't look great to have met and presented this screenplay and have it passed on and then produce and distribute this film. And then the screenwriters of that script saw this film in an advanced screening, and they were like, "This is beat for beat our script." So yeah, I don't know what this is going to mean for the release of the film.
Well, what I think what's going to happen is, I mean, this film is so far in, and I don't think they're going to halt the release.
No.
I think the original screenwriters, if that be the case, they're going to get a fat check, and they may have
Give
to
story by credit, man. Give them story by.
Yeah, they're gonna have to go to the Writers Guild and hash this out for screen credit. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's very common tale in Hollywood. I mean, back in the day when I was working in writing screenplays, I mean, I was always warned about that. Be careful who you show it to. And there was one a film that did come out that had a lot of shades of what I had written.
What?
Yeah. And it's kind of disheartening. On one hand, you go, wow, I had a good idea and it's on film, but it's not mine per se. So it happens. What can you do, But nonetheless, it looks like a great looking film. I mean,
it does. I don't want to take away from that. Hey, look, there's, naive me. I was going to say there's an easy fix, but I do think there's an easy fix. Give these screenwriters story by credit. Give them points on gross. Give them a fat bag of money and apologize and say, you know what, we got over our skis. We didn't think we'd get caught, which is what. Just be honest. Yeah, we stole it from you, and we absolutely didn't think that you would notice, even when it's 120 feet wide on a screen.
Right.
But just do right by it. Right by it, because this way this thing can die an easy death, and everybody perhaps walks away happy.
Yeah, true. Now, the other trailer I saw, and I had seen this trailer before, and I think I mentioned it maybe on the last episode. Danny and Michael Philippou. They have. Yes.
There I go again with the fucking orgasm. God damn it, John! Why don't you stop me when I do this?
We're gonna have to get maybe a Bluetooth or some sort of little thing I can shock you just when I hear it coming. There you go.
You know what? Joe, I will not be shamed by our audience into being enthusiastic, even if it seems sexual in nature, which it is not. I am just easily excitable.
There you go. Be as orgasmically excited as you want to be. There you go. Be free.
I'm seeing this on the 31st because my family they're going to a play with their girlfriends, and I have a me day, and I am going to see this film, and I am going to regret it because I am coming back to an empty house, and I am going to be scared shitless.
Yeah, it looks super creepy. And it's amazing. Another trailer that looks creepier than hell, but it really doesn't give away anything. You just see imagery, the general gist of this is kind of like what's not going right, and that's it. And it's very mysterious. It looks really, really good.
Everybody needs to thank Oz Perkins and Neon for setting the bar for not giving away the farm on trailers. I mean this. It started with them, and they deserve all the credit.
Absolutely. Another film that I saw a trailer for, and you know what? I wasn't too crazy about watching the first one. I haven't watched it, so I'm not going to put, I know you don't like to put the boots to a film, And I mean, me on the other hand, fuck it. I'll throw on spikes on my shoes and I will put my boots clear through their throat. I don't give a shit. But you're a sweetheart. Me, I'm like, no, this looks like dog shit.
Now I'm so curious. All right, what's the film?
Megan 2.0.
No, I'm with you, bud. I'm putting you hear this? I'm tying up my laces on my cleats. This film looks oh, you know what? I gotta watch. I don't want to upset your cousin, so I'm gonna watch my cuss words. This film, I don't know, dude. I'm speechless. It looks so bad. Yeah. So bad.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like, I mean, I saw enough clips and trailers for the first one that it was ridiculous. This one, it takes ridiculous to a new level. Now, ridiculous can be good. Hence, I don't know, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's ridiculous, but it's fun ridiculous. Just looks
purposefully ridiculous.
Yeah. So let's just move on from this one because it doesn't deserve another word.
Can I tell you what I think is going to eventually come to light? I swear they're going to eventually cop to it that they let ChatGPT write this freaking movie. It is when the trailer is such an abomination, and look at me, I'm turning into a bad guy in real time. What a heel turn. But when a trailer is this bad, I almost might have to see this movie to see what a stink bomb the entirety of it is. It just looks horrible. But anyway, to your point, the less said about it, probably the better. We'll move on.
Now, another one that I want to see, and I saw the trailer, and it's directed by Zach Krager.
Don't you, Joseph, don't you even get me started on weapons. I'm going to kick you right now.
Now, you mentioned this to me on our last episode, and I'm like, oh, I haven't heard of it. I did, because I saw the original trailer there was an original teaser, but it was called 217, as in the time the kids disappeared. Yeah.
All right. I know that we had Sinners. I know Sinners is the best horror movie of 2025. There can be two winners, is all I'm going to say. Yeah. I have such high hopes for this film. I loved Barbarian.
Yes.
My favorite horror movie of 2022. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, Joe, I will never watch another trailer for Weapons because I want to go in so cold. And I just feel like this is going to be that we're going to get two films in 2025, Sinners and Weapons, that redefine horror to a certain degree.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, I love Barbarian. I have a coworker who I recommended it to, and she hated it. Yeah, Sharissa, I'm looking at you. And she hates the film. She thinks it's an abomination. But I love this film. I love Barbarian. So when I heard that he's got another film coming out and that it takes place within the same universe.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited. And like yourself, the less I know, the better.
August 8th, people. August 8th, have your hiney in a theater seat and check out Weapons.
For sure. And the last one I want to talk about, I believe it was in Stephen King's Different Seasons, which was 4 novellas, right?
Yep.
The Long Walk.
Ooh. That is one of his most brutal short stories. Watch the trailer. It captures all the vibes from the short story. It looks like it's incredibly well shot. I know what is, because I've read the story, I know what is going to happen. Or you know what? I should say, I think I know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a tough hang, but it's going to be well worth your watch.
Absolutely. Really, and it's interesting that, being in a competition for your life is a theme that Stephen King visited more than once. You got The Running Man, the kind of the same concept of, okay, here's a game that involves death. If you survive, you win. If not, you die. And, it's interesting how you got films like Battle Royale and The Hunger Games and films of that type. Stephen King was the originator of that general idea of competing for something, so you can survive and be alive.
Yeah.
And which is interesting because Francis Lawrence is the director of The Long Walk, and he did 3 of the Hunger Game films.
Yeah.
Francis Lawrence also did Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
Ooh, I like that film.
Yeah, great film, which, by the way, there is a sequel coming up.
With Keanu?
Absolutely. Has to be.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Ooh, that's good news. I'm loving that.
Yeah, totally awesome. So now, what do you say we jump into our 70s Freaktacular?
Okay.
I know you've been waiting for this. So the film that Sean had me watch was a film called Roller Coaster with it was George Segal and Timothy Bottoms, was it?
Yep, Timothy Bottoms playing an incel weirdo bomber.
Oh, man. Okay. So let me just preface this. I love cheesy 70s drama, suspense, thrillers, and things like that. And this one didn't disappoint. It did play a lot like a movie of the week, an ABC movie of the week.
Very much.
But it was a lot of fun. I mean, I love George Segal. I mean, he's done a lot of great stuff. He had such an amazing range. Comedy, drama, romance, whatever they threw at him, he would really tackle and do well. And I think he was really amazing in this. He was really good.
The reason I chose to start the 70s Freaktacular with Roller Coaster, look, Joe, it's not a great movie. It's a fun watch. It's very made for TV. It feels like an extended episode of Columbo, to be perfectly honest with you. The reason I chose it is because it's drenched in 70s. It's one of 4 films that were filmed with sense around. So you had Battlestar Galactica, Midway, Earthquake, which is probably the best sense around movie. I mean, not even best. That is absolutely the best sense around movie. And you had Roller Coaster.
Mm-hmm.
There, you've got George Segal, Richard Widmark, Henry Fonda is in this movie. Helen Hunt plays George Segal's early role for her, plays his daughter. You've got Steve Guttenberg is also in a cameo as a messenger. You got Harry Gardino, who I know people are like, Harry hoo-ha-ha. Just Google Harry Gardino on IMDb and then look at his list of credits. This guy was like in every 70s movie. He just like, his face is 1970s. And this movie's just peppered with the look and feel of made for TV 70s, but it was on the big screen. It was filmed in sense around, which makes no sense whatsoever because the only thing that's loud is the roller coaster.
Right.
Every other aspect of the movie for a 90-minute film, so you've got like 4 minutes of sense around.
Right.
Even this movie absolutely went probably the furthest to put the stake in the heart of sense around, which honestly is fine by everyone who actually saw a movie in sense around because it was just insanely loud.
Right.
But not even good loud. Like, how we have Dolby now and Atmos and we have our IMAX. Like those are incredibly loud, but that sound is crisp. This was just like someone took a 70s radio and just taped it to the side of your head and turned the knob all the way up.
Yeah. Oh God. And it had a limited release in 70 millimeter.
I mean, that's why I picked this movie, Joe. It's an okay film. It's okay. But the fact that it was presented like it was Lawrence of Arabia Part 2. It illustrates the insanity of the 70s that someone was just like, what's popular? Roller coasters. Everybody loves Knott's Berry Farm. Everybody loves Magic Mountain. What's this thing, Six Flags? Seems like it's catching on. We definitely have to do a movie set in an amusement park or multiple amusement parks. Then they get this cast of actors that are like Academy Award winners. No, let me correct that. Multiple Academy Award winners. And they put him in a movie about a guy who likes to blow up roller coaster tracks so he can extort $1 million from, I don't know, the Roller Coaster Association of America. I don't even know who was paying the money.
Oh, man. And here's a little interesting side note. The roller coaster, which is the Revolution that was at Magic Mountain. I've been on that roller coaster.
Not only have you been on that roller coaster, but I actually went on Wikipedia and about 4 of the roller coasters in the movie are still functioning today in 2025, which is probably the scariest sentence I'm ever going to utter in my life.
Right.
These are wooden roller coasters, Joe. These are wooden roller coasters.
It's crazy. It really, really is. But yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, Valencia is maybe about 40 it's about a 40, 50 minute drive out of LA. And it's way out in the boonies. Yeah, they have some of the best roller coasters. And the final roller coaster, which kind of like was a corkscrew twist on it, that one's actually called the Corkscrew. And but yeah, I mean, it was pretty neat to see. I mean, I haven't been out there in years, but I haven't been on a roller coaster for a while. Maybe I'm just too old for that shit. But
if I went on a roller coaster now, it would probably kill me. I'm going to tell you my quick roller coaster story. And I promise, Eric Hansen, you gorgeous bearded faced son of a bitch. I know you're listening right now. This is not going to be a long tangent. He liked that I called him a gorgeous bearded faced man last episode, by the way. I got a little DM from him. So, all right, Eric, this one's going out to you. I'm 18 years old and here I am on the Northeast. So we had in New Jersey, we had Great Adventure. And they had the Great American Scream Machine was the new roller coaster. So we cut class one day because it was pouring, but the weather forecast was like, hey, it's only supposed to rain for a couple hours, and then it's supposed to become a beautiful day. So like, who wants book learning and math? We're getting in the car. We piled into my friend Eric's station wagon. Another good word that's going to age me horrifically. Station wagon. So we get there. It's pouring rain the entire time. 2-hour drive. We pull into the parking lot. The second he parked that car, the sun came out. There wasn't a soul at Great Adventure. We run right to Great American Scream Machine. We ride it, and we get to the end of it. Oh, we had the time of our life. This was fantastic. The roller coaster stops. The bar comes up. The kid who's running it says, don't go anywhere. He's like, there's no line. No one's in the park. You guys want to ride again? We did this 6 times in a row. I didn't get my equilibrium back. It was a very poor idea. I could not walk straight for 2 days. 2 days, Joe.
Oh, my God.
We came off that ride. Of course, we made the best of it. We had the whole park to ourselves. But that whole time after coming off that damn ride, I was like, A, I'm going to throw up. And B, I don't think my legs are ever going to work. I walked into a bush. I walked directly into a bush. So, it probably says a lot about me. I wasn't the brightest guy in the world, and I still am not. Little song I made for the podcast.
Oh my God. So bottom line is, I enjoyed Roller Coaster. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I do think that what they were going for was, okay, sharks, beach, we want people to fear roller coasters. And I think that was their objective. And I don't think it quite met that objective, but it was still a lot of fun. I thought it was neat. It was cheesy as hell and pretty good.
We'll move on from this because no one needs to hear about roller coaster longer than 10 minutes. But the 2 things that I do love about it is it was, and you nailed it, it was at this special time after Jaws in 75 where every studio head was like, get me a Jaws. I could care less if it's in the water. Get me a Jaws. So you had movies like The Car with James Brolin. It's a demonic car, but it's Jaws in a car. Right. You had movies like Roller Coaster. The shark is a roller coaster. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it absolutely is not Jaws with a roller coaster. But all they needed to do was like latch on to, it's Jaws, but with a ... And here you go. Here's a budget. Here's 3 Academy Award winning actors.
Right.
Let's start shooting on Monday. And the second thing is I adore George Segal. I'll watch him in anything. I mean, King Rat. You want a George Segal movie? I know everybody thinks The Hot Rock is really a Robert Redford film, and it is. He's incredible as Dortmunder in The Hot Rock, but George Segal honestly steals every scene that he's in, and that was the quintessential charm because George Segal was an everyman. And he was, the more put upon he was in a film, and he's incredibly put upon in this movie. He doesn't want to be the guy who has to give the ransom. He doesn't even want to be the guy who has to go to the crime scene. I'm really not even sure what the hell his job is. Right. But he's divorced, he's living in this kind of, crappy apartment in the, outskirts of whatever town he's in LA. And, it's just like the perfect George Segal vehicle. It happens to be a Mad Bomber roller coaster movie, but it works. He makes it work, which is insane to say.
Now, there is one film that I don't know if you've heard of, and this is a movie that pretty much has been buried and forgotten about purposely, okay? And there's some movies that you go, there's certain subject matter or tone, film it was an element of their time. You can kind of remake it and so forth. Well, there's one film he did that can never, ever, ever, ever be remade. And it was so bad. It's a movie called Carbon Copy.
Carbon Copy? Oh, no.
And it's basically George Segal finds out that he has a son. And it turns out to be Denzel Washington. This movie was so bad. That's up there with Soul Man. Just so cringy. They will never see the light of day again. But if you're curious, folks, check it out. It's really bad, and you can see why.
Do a double feature with that and Soul Man, and then just be like, the mistakes were made. Mistakes were made.
Alrighty, so what do you say we jump into our creature presentation?
Hell yeah, let's get to it.
Alrighty, so folks, here is our creature presentation.
Before we continue, beware. There are absolutely going to be spoilers in the second half of the discussion. We're going to let you know, so if you haven't seen the film, you may want to pause right now, go check it out, then please come on back, because we've got a lot to say about it. But just know you enter at your own risk if you haven't seen the film, because it will be spoiled.
Very much. This is a movie you can't go any other way but to spoil it. Right?
I mean, so, we're actually going to spoil like all the films in the franchise, Joe. So I guess we'll put a blanket statement out there. If you haven't seen the entire franchise, this is on you.
Yeah, exactly. So Sean, why don't you tell the people what we're going to be talking about, who directed, who was in it?
You got it. So this is Final Destination Bloodlines. This was directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein. Now, Zach Lipovsky, and forgive me if I'm messing up last names, I got a fat tongue and a lot of teeth, but so know that, and I apologize. But he directed a movie that got a little bit of buzz, a true indie feature a couple of years ago called Freaks. And I think there's a cute story about how they landed Bloodlines, which was, Joe, they combed through 200 possible candidates to direct this film, because the last installment was in 2011. There were a lot of like reinterpretations and a lot of directions on where they were going to go. These two, creative individuals, Stein and Lipovsky, they did a Zoom call. And what they did, which is kind of ingenious, was they had shot some footage, which they incorporated into the Zoom call. And they also did some live action in the Zoom call where they essentially were murdered Final Destination style.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it almost immediately secured them the gig, because it showed the passion that they had for the franchise and the creativity that they could deliver on. So I thought that, I wanted to tell that story because I think look, if you're a filmmaker out there, go for broke. These are the kind of ideas that are going to get you a franchise film.
Yeah.
I also did want to point out that the story by also includes, in addition to Lipovsky and Stein, John Watts, who, if you're not familiar with that name, he is the director of Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. So, he's dialed into a franchise, a multi-billion-dollar franchise in its own right. But I really like John Watts because he directed a movie called Cop Car, indie feature with Shea Wiggum and Kevin Bacon. That is so good, and a true, like, almost noirish tale of two young kids that discover a cop car in the woods and why that car is there and what it means and what they do with it and the trouble that they get into, and it escalates into just like a absolute banger of a finish. It's one of the most well-made films that I've seen in the past 10 years. And it really was what landed him the Spider-Man franchise. And this guy, again, I know he only has a story by credit, but with that kind of inclusion into Bloodlines, there was a good chance that the direction that they were going to go in made sense. Look, Joe, full disclosure, we're not going to spoil anything because you and I like to say whether we liked it or not. You know what? I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to stop talking right there because let's save it for the reveal, shall we?
We shall. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go on ahead and roll that clip.
I saved a lot of lives that night.
Everyone needs to get off the dance floor!
Lives that were never meant to be saved. But Death doesn't like it when you mess with his plans.
This book, it will show you everything you need to know to keep our family safe.
It all started with Grandma. Death is coming for us because we were never supposed to exist.
Watch out!
Only by embracing death will it pass you by?
Maybe Death's not actually coming for our family. Because that would be crazy.
Good luck.
Plagued by a reoccurring violent nightmare, a college student returns home to find the one person who can break the cycle and save her family from the horrific fate that awaits them. So let's go into some production backstory on this. So before the release of Final Destination 5 back in 2011, series actor Tony Todd, he said that if this one were to be successful, that he wanted to do 2 sequels that would have to be filmed back to back. Of course, that didn't happen. So in January of 2019, New Line Cinema, they announced that they were working on a new installment with, with this initial script by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. And they described it kind of like a reimagining of the franchise. So let's fast forward now to March of 2020 with series producer Craig Perry. And he said the film would be set in the world of first responders that would feature EMTs, firefighters, cops. And for some reason, it never, that didn't happen. They kind of went a different direction. Can we say Final Destination 7? Who knows? So when asked that if this was going to be in the same canon as the previous installments, he said that reboot kind of a strong word for this. He's like, makes it sound like they're going to change everything, but he said definitely this is going to be a Final Destination movie. So that October, series creator Jeff Riddick confirmed that his 6th film is in the works. And this was prior to the COVID-19 pandemic that hit the world. So now in 2021 of October, Laurie Evans Taylor was reported to be the new writer for the film. So in January of 2022, HBO Max, they announced that they would distribute the film. September 23, Tony Todd, God rest his soul, officially signed on to reprise his role as William Bloodworth. The film will explore, as they stated back then, the character's backstory. And despite his death in November 2024, he did complete all of his scenes for the film. March 2024, it was announced the film would be released in theaters by Warner Brothers Pictures. And of course, this is around the time that Warner Brothers was kind of going, oh, we're going to stream it on Max. And, quite a few films ended up there, unfortunately. And I think at that point, the industry was kind of going, you know what, let's get back to the theaters. Let's stop this nonsense of releasing stuff on streaming platforms.
It was a failed plan anyway. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, there was quite a few films that I can go on about that should have been on the big screen. Principal photography was to take place in Vancouver, British Columbia from July to October of 23, but in mid-July, production was delayed due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, another delay. So Final Destination Bloodlines was finally released here in the United States by Warner Brothers on May 16th, 2025. So Sean, your takes.
Okay. You and I had a phone call the other day,
Right.
and we both agreed. Look, everyone, you cannot seriously review a Final Destination franchise in like a cerebral academic way. You will look like the biggest asshole that ever lived. Joe and I were dying laughing when we were like, what do we do? We tie this into like, the Industrial Revolution or, the Dust Bowl saga of the 20s in Oklahoma. Like that's what Final Destination 3, that's really what it's talking about, is that kind of strife and suffering. It's just these are review proof movies, which is the absolute thrill of it because it's junk horror at its core.
Right.
And Joe and I mean that with all the love in our decrepit hearts. Nothing is better than junk horror. You're not going to sit there and really break down and review a Saw movie or the Hatchet films, or Jaws 4, The Revenge. Like, you just have to let that go and just say, okay, this is a kind of like we're grading on a curve on a broader scale. How did this movie land in the franchise? Did it live up to? Was it more than or less than? So, Joe, that's kind of where we're where we're going to go, right? Like,
Mhm.
how does this movie stack up compared to the other 5 that came before? And then maybe what does it leave open for installments in the future, which at $100 million gross in its first week, it is,
Wow.
or maybe even 120. It is absolute. We're going to get so many final destinations crammed up our destination hole that, it's going to be, I mean, the 8th installment's going to star Brad Pitt and George Clooney, for God's sakes.
Right.
So anyone who was tuning in to hear us really deconstruct what it means to have a Final Destination film and the cold embrace of death, we have bad news for you. We're going to be talking about the fun that's to be had with these films. And, look, they're not boot proof. I will absolutely get into what did not work in Bloodlines and what I wish they did better so that the junk horror could have been more fun. But I liked the film. I really did. I will be honest. I like the 2011 installment 5 better.
Mhm.
I think the script was a bit more clever at closing the loop and getting us back on Flight 180. I think that was a really great twist.
Yeah.
I just watched the first film today, just kind of like get the vibe, and but I will say that 6 is equal to 2, equal to 3, and better than 4. How about that?
I agree. I mean, last month we discussed Sinners, which had exponential profundities.
Oh my God, Joe, I got to stop you right there for 1 second, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I will not let another second go by without calling out your incredible skill in editing.
Oh.
People, Joe and I recorded that episode. We went 2 hours 45, Joe?
Yeah, about 2:45. Yeah.
We scraped the roof for 3 hours. The reason being, we recorded on a Monday. We typically record on a Friday. We recorded on a Monday because my wife's birthday was that Friday. Now that birthday turned into a 3-day-long celebration. My Monday was it was a Monday. And then I had coming off a long party weekend of a lot of fun, and happy birthday, Jen, love of my life. But I was less than, and I could not land a thought. And I mean, Eric, if you think I'm the tangent king, if you actually heard the raw recording of that Monday, you would be like, my dude. So Joe took his scalpel out and he carved this episode. I reached out to Joe a couple days later and I was just like, look, man, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, dude. I couldn't, nothing was connecting. I just couldn't land the plane. Joe, goes into the operating theater and put together this magnificent Sinners episode. Dude, I listened to that. I listen to the episodes because I love to hear myself. And now I love to hear you. And I listened to it twice. I listened to it the first time just for the fun of it. I listened to it the second time because I wanted to see if I could spot where you made the cuts, the multiple 1,000 cuts that you had to make because of my fucking performance that night, and I couldn't spot one. And I want to give you accolades because that is the testament of a supreme master craftsman editor. Is if you are unaware that there are transitions and cuts, if it's not glaring, like, ooh, that was, where the hell did that come from? And that sounds different. And that was from a different time. I don't even know if that's the same guy. If you can spot those things, that's a poor edit. It was so seamless and professionally done and so crisp, and the flow. And I know how that sausage was made, my friend, because there were times we had to stop and start again because I had to wring my tongue out of the gin that it was soaked with from the weekend. So my eternal thanks. I want the listeners to know who my partner is. This guy is like Lee Van Cleef in The Master. Your ninja skills are so freaking incredible that I just, this is for you. All right. Tirade aside and tangent aside, please continue.
Well, thank you so much. No, I don't know what to say. I mean, I just love editing. I enjoy it. To me, it's rhythm, it's pace, it's just a lot of fun.
You saved it because I tried to ruin it with my
No,
mouth.
no, you did an amazing job. Don't discredit yourself. It was, it was just a little challenging, but in a good way.
You're a good person. You're like Neo from the Matrix. I mean, it's like bullet time, dude. The skill that you bend these cuts to, I'm just floored. I'm absolutely floored.
Well, thank you. It comes from just the love for the craft, and I'm just very conscious. I'm like, God, I sound like a fucking moron. Let me cut this. Oh, now I sound like I know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, thank you. It's always a lot of fun, and it's a passion that I have. So,
well, can I make you a promise? I promise never to get better, so you'll always have to use those skills on everything that I say.
There you go. It's like, you're not being difficult. You're just trying to help me hone in my skills, right? Alrighty. So now let's now my takes on this. This is not a very deep film. There's not a lot, there's not subtext. There's no thematic elements of life and in the universe. It's just a lot of fun. I thought it was very clever that and we'll get into spoilers a little later. I'll announce it and let you guys know. But they kind of change up the formula just a little bit, which is risky because you got a tried and true formula that's worked for 5 films. How do you change that up without, pissing off the fan base? And they go about it. I mean, they even throw you a red herring at one point, and you don't expect it. And so the route that they take is a lot more. They just kind of take it in a different direction. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. The kills were amazing. The pacing.
Let's talk about those different directions, because you're onto something there. They did enough things right to make this film interesting. So let's start with the beginning. We're in 1968, and we're basically in like the Sky Needle. I mean, it's not called that, but we're in Seattle and we're in the Sky Needle, or representation of, and we're with a young couple. She's pregnant, by the way. They're not married. They're on this special date. It's the revolving, or not revolving, but the Sky restaurant isn't even open yet, but he secured a spot. They get up there, find out that, the stuffy, persnickety maitre d' doesn't have his name on the list. And then you find out that she's a gem because she doesn't really care, and she makes the best of it. And, we're having a great time, twisting the night away and screaming shouts going on. And then we start to get those premonition pieces with this, real jerk of a kid trying to throw a penny to murder someone, I suppose, side of the Sky Tower. And, those little machinations start of the premonition of, oh my God, the flambe is going to engulf this person, and the glass dance floor is going to start to crack and shatter. And, all these things are going to go wrong, leading to a catastrophic death, and eventually leading to the death of, the handsome boyfriend and, our protagonist. And then, of course, it goes right back into her eye, which is like the best part of a Final Destination film, is that jarring cold open of chaos and mayhem. And then, then you work your way, I guess, backward and forward from there of, how does she resolve this so that people survive ... or do they? And I think the most clever thing they did with this film, the screenwriters, was to set it in 68. That's where we get the bloodline from, because now exponentially she saved, I think it was 180 people. We always land on that 180. So she saves 180 people. And so death is like, oh, oy vey, maron. I got a lot of work to do. So death is like, geez, because, you're killing, death is, claiming its prize that was stolen from it. But it takes time. So these people are having children, and now those children were never meant to be. So now death's got to claim those souls, I suppose, and it just, it goes on and on and on through the decades until eventually it will run its course and claim all those 180 people and all of their descendants that should have never been born. And there we go. So that's the clever idea that encapsulates Bloodlines. Give me your thoughts on that, Joe.
I loved it. I really, really did. I mean, I think that, these films, they're each and every one of these films, they're formulaic.
It's clever as hell, right?
Yeah, but they're clever and they're predictable. But you know what to expect in a Final Destination film. They avert death through this. By the way, this was true to the franchise in an epic disaster. It was fantastic. It was incredible.
Can I give you my one beef with it, Joe? Can I just, I'm very curious to see if you're going to agree with me. It seemed like the outdoor scenes because they're on like the sky deck, and it's beautiful. By the way, it's shot beautifully. And there's kind of like that golden hour glow coming through, because it's 360-degree windows.
Right.
So you got that golden hour glow coming through. Everybody looks fantastic. They really captured that 68 time period, and the music's great. And you really get absorbed into the fun of it, which makes the tragedy of it all that more effective. But here's my one beef. If you're going to have a set piece where height is incorporated, you can shoot it in the volume for the interior scenes. I get that. That I understand. When you're on that sky deck, you have to shoot live height footage because it gives the audience terror. There aren't many people that aren't scared of aggressive heights. I mean, I'm scared of going 3 feet up on the step stool, but I mean, you take anybody, 27 stories and you're shooting real footage on what it looks like to go over the rail and see the ground below. The volume can't capture that. Green screen can't capture that. It's still fake and it feels fake. There's no stakes there. I wish that the filmmakers had shot live footage just for that outdoor deck scene, because it really would have landed. I mean, people would have felt the height. They would have felt the severity of it and the stakes of it all. So that's my one gripe with that scene from a filmmaking perspective.
I get you. I definitely, now that you mention it, is true. I mean, a lot of it was done practical, but you're right. It did seem CGI-ish, and it really, I mean, another film that was on a smaller scale was a movie called Fall, and which did it amazingly. I am terrified of heights. I mean, I run the gambit of reactions towards heights, and I freak out. I really, really do.
You and I are going to have a offshoot podcast, things we won't step on.
Right. I mean, those bridges that have the see-through floors that they look like they're cracking and stuff.
No, thank you.
No, I ain't doing it. No. So, you know what? I have to agree with you. I didn't think about that, but you're right. Had they gone practical, an actual shot of the, from above, it would have been a lot more effective. But nonetheless, I mean, overall, with these films, the who, the what, the where, the so forth, what's going to happen in general. You just don't know how it's going to be executed. And yes, that pun was intended. I had to throw that in.
Ladies and gentlemen, my partner.
Thank you very much. And, but yeah, I mean, I love the execution of the signature destruction in the opening.
Was that the longest, maybe outside the first film, was that the longest cold open that we've had? They take their time with it, which I appreciated.
Yeah. You know what they did, because they developed the character identification with the audience, and you start to care for them really. And you genuinely feel bad when, let's not get into spoilers yet. But yeah, you do feel for them. And so it really puts you in there. Also, what I liked in this, again, this is a Final Destination film. The pacing of the kills, the sudden shock it was well done. The execution and the technique was, to me, this is what I, like the monkey, which, we did for our first episode. It had a quote unquote, to me, shock kills. These were genuinely, quite a few of them were shock kills. And we're going to go into in more detail on the kills later. And we'll even rank them as well.
Oh, hell yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And another thing I found fascinating about this film, and you know what, the franchise as a whole, I mean, it has to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might disagree, but to me, this has to be one of the most sustainable horror franchises that we've ever had. I mean, as far as...
Seems like it, bud. It certainly does seem like it.
Yeah, with fan satisfaction, it continues to either maintain at the same level or drop just a slight bit. You go, wow, this one wasn't good as the last one. This is a 7, which is a good score.
There's no absolute travesty of a Final Destination film. I'll say this. I think the only franchise that I can think of right now that's giving it a run for its money, in my opinion, is Evil Dead.
I agree. You know what? That's absolutely true. And there is another one coming up very soon, which I can't wait to watch.
Fewer films for Evil Dead, so they, grading on a curve, they have fewer films. But that's a franchise that seems to be becoming more terrifying as it goes along. Which I'm really dining out on. And we're going to get 2 new installments. One from the director of Infested, and one from Lee Cronin, who directed Hole in the Ground. And get this, now is tapped by Universal to direct the next Mummy film.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the cast that they're putting together for that film, don't want to take us off track. We're talking about Final Destination, but the cast that they're putting together for this Mummy film is banger. Yeah, wow. Very excited about that.
Cool. Yeah, and and also another aspect of this franchise that is amazing is that it's a horror franchise, and you have a killer that you never see, but you always feel. And in the best installments of this franchise, which is quite a few of them, you do feel the presence of death. This character that's like there's a scene in Bloodlines where there's death, but you don't see him, which I think is ingenious. It's brilliant the way they do that.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Okay, so do we want to stick with Bloodlines? How should we do this, Joe? Because we want to talk about the franchise. Do we do it in chronological order, or we talk about Bloodlines and then just kind of slice in the franchise as we're talking about Bloodlines?
Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't we go with, let's go with Final Destination 1 all the way down to 6 with their destructions and kind of rank them from there. Okay. And but before we continue, let's, a mention to the one and only Tony Todd, who passed away, this being his last film. A genuine horror legend, an amazing actor, and by most accounts and by fellow actors, an amazing human being.
That's what I've heard. Just an absolute gem. This is going to sound weird, but one of my favorite films that Tony Todd did was I think it's Tom Savini. Yeah, it's Tom Savini directed it. It's his Night of the Living Dead. I just really love Tony Todd's performance in that. And it's kind of heartbreaking when he shambles up from the basement having been turned at the end. I thought it was a clever little twist and homage to the original, but I just love Tony Todd.
Yeah. It's scary, by the way, how you seem to every now and then read my mind, because I was going to say the same thing. His role in Savini's, Night of the Living Dead was incredible. And, but yeah, we lost a great legend but we have a great body of work to look back on from him.
We do. We certainly do. Oh, what a great, fantastic body of work. And, he will be missed.
Yeah. Now, also, I do want to mention, which was really, really awesome, and I thought it was hilarious, especially when I read the backstory on it. During the destruction of the Sky Needle and everything's going on, there's this old woman who's running around on fire.
And I know where you're going with this, and I love it.
And you just don't see her fly by the camera like, oh, I'm on fire. You see her just running around, and they focus on this woman, and it's fantastic. And the great thing about it, no CGI. First of all, it was practical.
Mhm.
Second, it was 71-year-old stunt woman Yvette Ferguson who came out of retirement to do that one scene.
It's incredible.
Amazing. And the director, he was like, you know what? You have our attention. The camera's yours. Do your thing. And they gave her moment, and it was fantastic.
Kudos to her. She nails that stunt, and it looks glorious on film.
Yes, it does. All right, so let's go into now we're going to go into spoilers, folks, starting from the original film onto the current. So you've been warned. So we're going to start with Final Destination 1, which was Flight 180.
Now, Joe, before we get into that, can I mention two films quickly that I think really set the stage for what would become Final Destination? Those films are The Omen, Richard Donner's The Omen, 76, I want to say, 75, 76.
76.
And American Pie.
Okay.
People are like, what?
Okay, I want to hear this connection. Go ahead.
Okay. So we have these Rube Goldberg-esque mechanics to the deaths in the Final Destination franchise. Now that, I don't know if it originated with The Omen, but it certainly was popularized by The Omen, where the devil or evil, Satan is kind of manipulating the emergency brake on the truck, which then slides backwards, and then it hits the stone, and that glass pane comes and just decapitates David Warner's head, which was one of the best practical effects ever put on film, people. But that's where it started. So we got 3 Omen films, and by the time we got to the third one, Final Countdown, people were really, really heavily invested in, okay, what's Satan gonna do to, pull that pin out, and then the marble rolls across the floor. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at?
Right,
Now,
right.
So take that concept and then layer it with, what if we killed the cast from American Pie? And that is essentially what Final Destination is. It's these young kids, and I'm not saying that, that they're all jerks.
Right.
Some are definitely jerks, but they're all of that vein of look, and it's privilege of youth. And boy, oh boy, sometimes do I wish I could get in the Wayback Machine. But it's the privilege of youth to be young and dumb and horny and not really think about things all that seriously. And man, death looks at you and it's like, yum, yum, nom, nom, nom. I can't wait to kill the hell out of you. So I just want to put that out there for people, is that, when they were casting these Final Destination films all the way up to Bloodline, I mean, they basically just combed through the Rolodex of the CW. And they're just like, this is perfect. No one in it outside of Mary Elizabeth Winstead and maybe Sean William Scott,
something like that. Yeah,
Stifler. I mean, Stifler was an American Pie, and now he's in Final Destination. So we actually killed Stifler. Right. So they're all of that same kind of demographic of just kind of young and boy, oh boy. Someone our age, but maybe it's the destruction of these beautiful young people. Subconscious. Maybe it's in our subconscious that if you're our age and you're watching these kids get murked mercilessly, you're like, this is so much fun.
Well, first of all, only you and only you, Sean, could go from 1976 Richard Donner's Omen to American Pie to Final Destination. I don't know how you do it, but you did it.
Spot the lie, though, buddy. Spot the lie. You can't find one. It makes sense.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because you got this identification with these characters and actors that usually in situations that are comedic and funny and lighthearted, and you identify with them on that level. So when they get sliced in half, or they get diced, or they get crushed, it's more impactful. You're like, wow, it hits you more, because
right?
You don't think Stifler's a funny guy. You love Stifler. Oh, Stifler's dead. So yeah, it's that's a very unique perspective. Thank you, my friend. I like that.
Now, before we even get into talking about the films, which I promise we'll do in a moment, I think you and I need to talk about some of the rules of the franchise.
Okay.
So I'll start with the characters, and then I want your input with the further rules. So typically, we have the following: we have the girl or boy next door, which is our protagonist. We have their best friend and or significant other, or their best friend who perhaps is going to become that significant other. We've got the jock, could be male or female. By the way, the boy or girl next door, male or female, best friend, the same. Then we sometimes, not all the time, but some installments, we get the perv or creep. That's always male. We get the goth in not every installment, but almost every, and that can be male or female. We get what I like to call the business asshole. That can be male or female. And again, not every installment, but the majority of. Then this one is only in a few, but we get the maternal figure. In part 2, the maternal figure lives. And is kind of like, I feel like the screenwriters and the director didn't know what to do because they're like, we can't kill a mom. This is too far. And they didn't know what to do with her. So they're like, hey, you are fine. Go.
Right.
Then you have 2 variations of the moron, which is typically male, and the bimbo, which is typically female. And then you have, this is in every single installment, the character that is defiant and narcissistic and is like, see, death will not get me. I'm going to live forever. And that is typically the jock or the goth. And then they almost immediately get killed.
Right. Well, in 6, the newest one, the goth and the defiant one is the same character, actually.
Right?
The nose ring guy.
I mean, that's what I love about it, is that you've got the blueprint, and it's almost like a buffet at this point. You can take a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and you can try and make a tasty meal. It's not a guarantee that it's going to work out that way, but there's enough to the blueprint of the franchise now that you can cherry pick the tasty bits. That's interesting at this moment in time. It's going to be very interesting for the next installment to see what they cherry pick. But you and I, when we eventually get to Bloodline, are going to have to talk about what they have painted themselves into.
Right.
I've got thoughts about that.
Okay. So let's go over really quickly, and let's rank the disaster in all 6 films. Okay.
You got it.
So I'll go over them first. So the first one, of course, was Flight 180, and it's a plane that he foresees that it's going to blow up upon takeoff, and very spectacular. The second one was the iconic highway disaster with the logs.
I think that's the best.
Yeah, and then you got the third one, which is the roller coaster.
Not bad.
Not too bad. And the fourth, we have NASCAR, which was pretty messed up. And then Final Destination 5 was the bridge collapse, the suspension bridge.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to rank these because they're all fantastic. Now, keep in mind, my rankings, I'm going to be upfront. They're going to be very close in that one could be, number 6 could be number 3 for me, but I had to rank them. So, and then Final Destination 6 was the high-rise Seattle Needle restaurant thing. So, Sean, what is your number 1? Let's go with 6 first. Your number 6 first.
That's going to be the NASCAR.
Okay. That was pretty cool. I liked it.
They're all good, bud. Look, there's got to be a 6. You said it. These are all good. They're creative. They are brutal and they are gory. But I mean, if we're going to do a 1 through 6, something's got to be 6. For me, it's NASCAR. Okay.
And what was your most brutal, messed up kill in that?
Bisection by the flaming hood. I kind of yeah. By the way, we're probably going to say bisection a billion times going forward.
Yeah. So for me, my number 6 is going to be the plane. Now, I know that's it's very debatable, but to me, I thought, they're very, very freaking close. All of these disasters.
Joe, I want to change my answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm going with you. You're right. It's the plane.
Yeah.
You're right.
And so I thought that was pretty messed up. I mean, it preys on our fears, however minute, which I got to give you a little side story about plane travel.
Are you scared to fly?
Well, here's it. Okay, I'm going to go on a Sean tangent here. Okay, real quick.
Have at it.
I like turbulence. It's very relaxing. I know that makes me really weird.
That makes you really weird.
Because
nobody on Earth likes turbulence.
now, I think I got over this when I joined the Navy. And we flew out of LAX. From LAX, we went to Memphis, Tennessee to pick up other recruits. And we took a connecting flight there to O'Hare in Chicago because my basic training was at Great Lakes. So we go from LAX to Memphis in a standard plane. Very nice, very relaxing. It was pretty cool. And we land and we have a layover of about 2 hours, pick up other recruits. And this young Mexican recruit, really nice kid, we called him Flea because he was the size of a flea. And that was his name throughout basic training. And so he's kind of nervous. I mean, for multiple reasons. He doesn't like flying. And he's going, he signed his life away, basically. So we get the connecting flight. Do you remember that Jerry Lewis film in the 60s where he's a pilot? He plays multiple characters. I don't know if you remember this. He flies, it's like a two prop plane.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think it was 1956 or something like that. Well, that was the plane. It was propellers and it looked like the same plane from the Jerry Lewis film, right? So we get on this plane and we take off and it rattles. It's shaking. It sounds like it's going to fall apart. Okay.
Oh
Flea is freaking out. He's turning 3 shades of pale, right? And I'm just chilling. I'm like, you know what? What can be worse, So we're flying and we're approaching O'Hare. It's a storm. And apparently the plane that landed before us skidded off the runway.
Oh my God.
So they put us on a holding pattern for 2 hours. So for 2 hours, we have the worst possible cases of turbulence, lightning, thunder. And I am a very religious person and I'm doing my prayers, right? Hey, God, if it's my time, it's my time. But, whatever. Flea is losing his shit. And he turns to me and he says, hey, Velazquez, you think we're going to crash? I said, when it's your time, it's your time. I just turned around, went back to sleep.
What are you, Cool Hand Luke? I'm doing, my co-host is Paul Newman over here.
And so after the 2 hour, hold, we finally landed and it was, I admit, I was a little freaked out. I mean, because we did bounce a couple times as we're trying to land. And, but yeah, we made it safe and I made it through basic training. So there's my little flight story.
That's, dude. All right. No, you got to be fair though. I got to go on a tiny little tangent and I got to tell you my flight story. And I'm going to make it super quick.
Okay.
I'm flying from Tenerife to Spain so I can get back home. It's not a long flight. There's so much turbulence. The plane, it's like when King Kong grabs the plane and shakes it. That's what it felt like. But I love to fly. And I always gauge my terror meter by the staff. So if the flight attendants are calm, then I'm calm.
Okay.
And it's worked so well for me in my life. But this flight, everybody, ding, 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 everybody back to your seat and, strap up. And I happen to be in like the bulkhead seat. So, I've got the door next to me, which I wasn't crazy about it at that point. But I have like the flap down seats that the flight attendants sit in on takeoff and landing. So the flight attendants sit down across from me and this guy whips this friggin' rig out that is like Formula One that goes crisscrosses his shoulder, buckles into both sides with a lap strap, and then he starts to cross himself. And I'm like, and all I'm thinking of at this point, I'm 15 and look, might be too much information, but I don't think anyone who's listening now who has heard the sound of my voice thinks I'm some sort of Lothario. All I could think of was, I haven't had sex yet. I'm a virgin. This is the worst thing. Like, not thinking about the hundreds of other people and my family that was with me. I'm just like, oh my God, geez, I bet that was going to feel really good too.
Oh man.
As quickly as it started, it stopped. And then we all pretended like it never happened. And the guy got up and was just like, all right, who wants a ginger ale? Yeah. I mean, ugh.
Yeah.
But I do love to fly.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so I think that, Final Destination 1 definitely played on those fears to an extreme. So yeah, that's my number 6. What's your number 5?
My number 5, well, you know what? I'm going to put in the NASCAR in because you and I agree on number 6. Number 5 is NASCAR for me.
Okay. Yeah. That was pretty good. Yeah. My number 5 is the highway disaster with the logs. I mean, it's almost like,
that's my number 1.
yeah, it's so iconic. And when the cop gets the log through the face, I mean, that was just messed up.
All the deaths are so insanely graphically miserable in that sequence.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, that's my number 5, definitely. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is going to be Roller Coaster.
Okay. All right. That's my number 4 as well.
It's super good. I mean, hey, look, we did Roller Coaster today, a little callback.
Right. Yeah, no, that was a really, really, and I love the steps it took to, it's like the camera, it flies off out of his hands, it hits the rail, it wraps around and so forth. And then you get the roller coaster, it stops in mid loop. And I love the mechanics in that. So now what's your number 3?
3? Ooh, I'm going to go Sky Needle, Space Needle.
Okay. All right. That's mine as well. I loved it. It was, as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is a Final Destination film. This is true to the franchise. It's epic. It's insane. It has a lot of moving parts, your eyes are darting everywhere. Yeah, it was perfectly executed.
Joe, can I expose one of my beefs with the film, if you don't mind? Can I ask you flat out, if you were dancing to Twist and Shout or any song on a glass dance floor 27 stories in the air, would you ever not notice that the floor was cracking?
Oh. Well, here's the thing. It would never happen because I would
be there. Yeah, you're right.
I would never put myself there because, no. Yeah. But yeah, no, wait, is that a crack? So yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be the bridge, suspension bridge.
Okay. All right. Well, we're on the same page. Suspension bridge is mine as well. Yeah, again, beautifully executed. The mechanics of it and the kills were just messed up to an extreme.
The girl who gets impaled on the sailboat mast. Just how much fun must it be to write these screenplays and write these openings? I mean, these set pieces are fantastic.
I mean, it must be an amazing job. It's like, how are we going to kill somebody in a really dramatic and shocking kind of way? And that's yeah, that the sailboat one was intense. All right, so now that brings us to our number 1. What is your number 1 kill?
Now, mine's Highway, which was your 5. What's your number 1?
NASCAR.
You love the NASCAR. See, I love that for you.
Now the CGI was questionable in some aspects, as was most of these.
It was the time.
Yeah, and you forgive it because you know what? It's the way it's put together. And like, and the most memorable part for me in that was the poor woman who's being trampled to death on the stairs, and then she's finally clear, and she flips over on the stairs on her back. She's like, and then you get this engine block flying through the air and just squashes her.
Right. Right.
I'm like, that is some seriously Wile E. Coyote shit right there.
By the way, bud, engine blocks, you would think that it would be very specific to NASCAR, but engine blocks come back another time in this film for a fantastic kill. You wouldn't think that engine blocks would be so destructive and cause so much mayhem.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's a testament to these screenwriters. Damn, they're having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, and again, just like reviewing and discussing these films, you don't need a lot of brain power to dissect these and you just point out the fun. Same with the writing. I'm sure it's like, well, what kind of, no, you know what? I'm just going to write something really fun and just have a blast with it and not put too much brain power into it.
Right.
But creativity off the hook. I mean, who was it? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, where there is no imagination, there is no horror.
Look at you.
Yeah, I impressed myself. All righty. So now we're going to get into further spoilers for the film itself. Now we're going to go over the kills, and you want to rate these as well?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Okay. So it's 8 kills in total, right?
How about we just do our favorite kill? Because that's a lot of kills to go through.
Yeah, you know what? Good point. Let's go with our favorite kill. We'll go over all 4, all 8 of them real quick. And then what's your favorite, okay? So the first one, we have Iris, grandma, which she gets a pole through the face as she's telling her granddaughter, she's handing her the book, The Secret on How to Defeat Death. And she gets that pole through the face out of nowhere.
I mean, it's real good. No
really
joke.
Good.
It's
yeah.
Real good.
And then, of course, you got Uncle Howard with the lawnmower to the face, which was that was spoiled by the trailer, by the way.
It was, which really upset me because it wasn't even like that was in the first trailer. I mean, they really gave away, they gave the goods away immediately, which, I can't really lay all the blame at the feet of the filmmakers. They're certainly culpable, but, look, the directors, they don't have a lot of juice as far as throwing their weight around.
Right.
The studio is like, this is the way we're doing it. Of course they have to go along with it. They can't be like, no, I refuse. So I blame the studio for that, but I wish that they had fought a little harder because it really does give away every beat for the best set piece in the film. I mean, it's essentially that trailer was almost the entirety of that set piece.
Yeah, because the first trailer they released was with the nose ring goth guy, and that was perfect because and you didn't see the outcome. You just saw that he gets hooked up by a chain and swung around. And I think they should have just left it at that. And then of course you got the third kill, which is Julia, the younger sister, who gets killed in a trash truck. She gets squashed. Now that was hilarious. With the leaf blower, the soccer ball hits on you talk about true Rube Goldberg mechanism. So that was pretty cool. Then you got, I love this. They do this a couple times actually. They give you a twofer. 4 and 5 is Nose Ring and his brother who's allergic to peanuts. They get sucked through an MRI machine. First of all, you have, they're being drawn towards the machine because there's the wheelchair or something and getting dragged towards it. Now, Nose Ring guy, he has multiple piercings. And first you see, I guess it's his nose ring that goes first, then his nipple rings, and then you get the little reveal that there is an additional piercing in a very sensitive location, and you see the bulge pop out.
Joe, I'll say it. The sensitive location is his wiener.
Oh, man. I loved it because you talk about an audience collective experience. The crowd I saw it with, they all screamed at the same time and broke out in laughter when that, when its wiener kind of like bulges out towards the machine.
Dude, my theater was the same way. My theater actually screamed in laughter at every single kill. I've gone on record in saying that we are a damaged country, and I stand by that.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, but guilty as charged. I was laughing. All right, I brought Jen, my wife, to this. She was cool enough to be like, "I'll go see this with you." She really didn't want to go. I found out later. She had a lot of enthusiasm to make her husband happy, but I feel like in the set piece in the beginning when that prick kid who was throwing the pennies off the side, he makes it down and then gets completely disintegrated by the falling piano.
Right.
I laughed so hard. And my wife turned and looked at me, and I could tell in her mind, she was like, I may have to get a number of a good lawyer because I'm married to an absolute psychopath.
Oh, man. I mean, you know what? That shit was hilarious. I mean, I lost it right there. And you know what? My audience, they applauded because the kid was a prick.
Oh, that kid was the worst. I loved it when he got killed.
Oh, man. And then we got number 6, which is the mother crushed by a pole. Now that was kind of uneventful. I mean, it was sudden, but it wasn't memorable.
Yeah.
And then 7 and 8, the creme de la creme of poetic endings. Charlie and Stephanie, the brother and sister, they're the last survivors because they believe that they broke the curse. And what is it? Prom? Is it prom day or something like that for the?
Yeah, I mean, he was all gussied up to go to the prom. I felt horrible.
Oh man! So as they're getting ready to go, they come to the realization that wait a minute, we didn't break it, and it is dun 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 kind of moments, and you get a chain of events that leads to them poetically and beautifully. If this were the last film in the franchise, that's the way to end it. They get crushed in the most iconic way by what, John?
Logs. It's a callback to 2.
Beautiful.
Right?
And, oh, man. And then, of course, no lingering, oh, what happened? Cut to black, and then the song kicks in, You Make Me Want to Shout, and in credits. And people applauded at this. It was just perfect.
Cut to black endings are my favorite endings. None will ever be better than American Werewolf in London. That is the best. Cut to black, fire up the song immediately, boom, done. This one's damn good though.
Yeah. And it's those kind of endings that they're, no, we're not going to let you gestate this for a while. We're just going to boom and little wink and a nod and a smile. And there we go. Have fun.
Well, when you finish a McDonald's hamburger, you don't sit there and kind of like, oh, that was so good. You crumple up the wrapper and you go on with your life. This is junk food horror. You're not supposed to sit there and think about it. You're just like, oh, my belly hurts now. And then you're done.
Yeah, exactly. So of those kills, what was your favorite?
It's easily Julia. I'm still trying to figure out if that was practical or if that was CGI, if that was digital. But this slow bisection, that word again, we should everyone do a shot every time we say bisection. The bisection of her skull, where it's just like from the nose up. She's looking at Stephanie, and then the light just goes out of her eyes as she's dead. And then, of course, Stephanie then, yanks her arm out. But I was like, everything about this in real life would be the most horrible thing you'd ever heard. But this is the funniest, outside that kid getting disintegrated by the piano, this is the funniest kill of the movie because, like you said, I mean, it's Roadrunner Coyote. It literally is. That thing falls on that. It hits a soccer ball, hits her in the head. She falls in the garbage cans, gets scooped into the truck. The truck then cuts her in half. And the only thing that was missing was the Acme Warner Brothers cartoon of as she goes down the conveyor belt, being dismantled limb by limb. Oh my God.
Yeah. And and I love it because it was very boom, 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 head, flip, fall in, flip up.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, it was classic. So for me, my favorite kill, I'm very close to that kill. That's like, it's very close to number one, but my number one, because of the callback to Final Destination 2 was Charlie and Stephanie, the twofer getting crushed by logs at the same time, cutting to black, and then the music. So that would be 7 and 8 were my favorite kills.
Okay, even though I'm brushing up against academic jerk, can I just talk about a couple of the things that bothered me?
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, this is not a perfect film. I mean,
No, but I mean, again, we're grading on a curve. It's junk horror. We look, even though I'm going to point some stuff out, please, again, send your emails to Sean O'Connor. I really am never going to answer you.com. If you feel compelled. But a couple of things that did bother me. I talked about the volume. I would have loved to have seen some actual footage of height. It would have added to the terror. The grandmother, Iris, living in what's essentially like a bunker. Mm-hmm. And we approach it, and there's all these gates and spikes and sharpened sticks and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, the other 5 films have established that this isn't a physical entity. So, it's not like it's a xenomorph or like you're on Skull Island. None of this makes sense even remotely. I mean, it's like we joke on, you gotta back me up on this. It makes no
what if it materialized into a mastodon and it comes charging to the gate and it gets impaled, right? No, I totally see your point. It totally doesn't make sense.
This is what I like to call, this is for the new recruits.
Right.
These are for people that are really, hey, I'm 15 and I haven't seen. Well, I don't know why I have to age shame people, but for anyone that hadn't seen the previous 5 and was new to it, I feel like they were writing for that person that hadn't seen any of the other films. I kind of have to go there because I'm like, if the screenwriters were actually writing this thinking about people that have seen the other 5 films, then why the hell would they do this? So that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Did it take me completely out of the film? No. I just kind of laughed. I was like, I don't know why a sharpened stake would stop wind, which is become the embodiment of, Joe, okay, interesting point. I mentioned that I watched the first film today. How about this? How about the manifestation of death has changed now that we're talking about sharpened spikes and all that goofy stuff from Bloodlines? So the first film, the first kill outside the plane crash that we get is the garroting with the clothesline in the bathtub.
Right.
Now here's an interesting thing that I notice is that the toilet's leaking and leads to the puddle that he trips on. After that character is strangled to death, that water recedes and then disappears. Also, the protagonist, I can't remember, I can't remember Devon Sawa's name in the movie, but anyway, Devon Sawa and also Clear River, they do see like dark shadows and reflections skittering past. So there kind of was the first films, there was a supernatural element to death that was not duplicated from 2 on. They got rid of it.
I guess that's maybe the filmmakers going, you know what? You know who he is or who death is.
They just replaced it with a cheaper aspect with a breeze.
Right. Which one could argue is a little bit more effective because it's less of a physical manifestation appearance. It's more vague, like breeze versus a shadow or something along that nature, and less physical in nature, like when it makes the water recede and disappear.
Yeah.
So, you can also chalk that up to, death kind of changed his MO and kind of like changed his game a little bit.
I'll buy that. I like it better. Better that there's not so much of a heavier approach to death, that look, you're screwed. You're just screwed. How are you going to stop a breeze? Or it doesn't even need to be a breeze. It could just be, death is just all around you. That's what bothered me about the bunker, is because you establish in all the other films that you're never safe, no matter how much precaution you take. It's just there. It's in the room. The coal's coming from inside the house. So enough about that. One of my other beefs was that Bobby, who gets the vending machine curlicue spike through the head, that kid's supposed to be 17. Now, in real life, he's 26, but that mother effer looks like he's 42. He's supposed to be the same age as Tio. And I'm like, he could be his dad.
Yeah.
This guy looks so old.
Oh, man.
He was great, though. I thought he was very endearing. And that's one of the things about Bloodlines is that no one's a jerk. The formula for the previous 5 films was that you had those stereotypes, the jock, the goth, the business asshole. You had all these people. This is one family, and they all seem like lovely people for the most part. Even Charlie, the goth guy, he's got a heart of gold and he loves his family. You're even sad when he gets just magnetized to that. By the way, all right, that's another look, dude. There's no MRI machine that has research level in red, and then I forget what it got hit with, but like there was like a little switch and whatever hit it, and they're like, oh well, all bets are off because Our failsafe was that switch. Now we're going to magnetize the entire hospital until it compacts on itself like the house in Poltergeist. So crazy.
It was ridiculous. It was.
But the more ridiculous, there's so much goodwill that I'm willing to afford these movies. Because actually, the more ridiculous they get, and the more that I'm like, come on, where they actually get me to say things out loud to the screen,
Right.
they win. They win.
Yeah. Well, that's a testament to the execution of the film by the directors and the writers and the whole crew that put this fun film together, is that there's a multitude of flaws and, a lot of plot holes, but you know what? You forgive it because it's executed well and it's just so much fun.
Can I ask you a question? And this is a serious question.
Yeah.
I'm not taking the piss here. So we got a brother and sister at the end that get just completely murderized by the logs. But prior to that, we can definitely say that they were living footloose and fancy free for days, if not weeks, after her drowning and being brought back. My question to you is, if you think you died and you think you beat death, is that enough? Because they seemed perfectly fine up until the moment that stupid asshole doctor told them that she didn't actually die. And then once they become conscious of the fact that they didn't cheat death, then it immediately started all over again. So, like, if you've convinced yourself that you did die, are you safe?
Well, I think that was part of death's design and plan. It's kind of like, you're not safe, but you know what? I'm going to let you think you are, and it's going to be revealed to you, and you're going to find out, and that's when it's all over.
Oh, so death actually kind of gets off on the terror of the impending doom.
Yes, exactly. So it's like death has a sense of humor, a very warped, messed up sense of humor.
Joe, I love that. I love that.
So I think that's how it played out. It's like, okay, you think you're safe. I can't for the life of me, from the top of my head, remember, but there was a film like that where it wasn't until they realized something that it started happening, but that's because it was designed accordingly. So, and it's part of the sense of humor, and that's why it ends the way it does, with a wink and tongue-in-cheek and a chuckle, and then black and then music.
I like it. All right. You've sold me. I'm going to go with that.
All right. Now, overall, to me, just kind of like this surmised entire film, beautiful signature opening disaster, worthy of a Final Destination film. Caitlin Santa Juana, who plays Stephanie, she was exceptional. I thought she was really, really good.
Now, I liked her, but Mary Elizabeth Winstead kind of ruined the protagonist for me because she was so good. Yeah. She's a really great actor.
It's true.
She did a great job, but Mary Elizabeth's my favorite.
Okay. And to me, I think, Caitlin, she stepped in, she filled the shoes as best she could. I think she did an excellent job. But to me, it was Richard Harmon who played Eric, the nose ring guy. He's great. Yeah, he was the equivalent, I think, of Scott Williams. Now I can't remember his name.
I don't know. I know those three names are correct. Just don't know what order they go in.
Right. Let's just go with Stifler.
Perfect.
Yeah, he was the equivalent of Stifler. And I thought he really made a mark. He really, I think this film might get him some attention and further roles in these type of films.
So. He also looks like he could be Kyle Gardner's brother.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
He gives those vibes off big time.
Yeah. And of course, to me, what made me laugh out really, was the trash truck sequence, even though my favorite was 7 and 8, Charlie and Stephanie with the logs. The trash truck thing with her getting squashed was really comedically, tragically, horrifically just structured. And that was one of the most fun executions in the film.
Absolutely. I mean, I really do love the fact that, look, it's your time. You can't cheat death, Right. And that's another, there are a couple of facets to the franchise that I love the fact that they try and come up with a plan to cheat death. It never works, but the audience, because you want them to survive, because you kind of know, like, oh, you're going to get it so bad. You want them to be able to trick death. So the plan always seems like, okay, this seems like it'll work. The films now seem to be landing on, and this is where they painted themselves into a corner. They seem to have landed on, if you can die and come back, death will skip over you. So, like, you know, which I think is fantastic, that death is nothing but linear. So if you take yourself off the linear path, death is like, God damn it, I've got 8 billion people to kill before I get back to you, you know?
Right. All right. So what do you say we jump into our fright meter score?
Oof, I am going to give this one a solid, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give it, well, it was fun. It was popcorn fun. Brings to the table just what you want, and with some excess, which is always welcomed. So I'm going to give this same thing, 7.5 out of 10 screams.
Nice.
Yeah.
Joe, before we let go of the franchise, can I just mention one thing?
Sure.
That this all originated as an unfilmed episode of The X-Files.
That's right. I heard that. I mean, it would have been I'm sure it would have been a great episode, but look at what it's grown into, into the expansion of this concept. And it just, it's a gift that keeps giving.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're going to get into our next our segment where we unpack some horror that we've seen recently. And I've been pretty busy doing some homework and looking up some good stuff. I want to start with Ty West, his trilogy, Pearl, X, and Maxine.
You know, I haven't seen Pearl or Maxine yet.
Oh, Sean.
I know, Joe. I know.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to give you anything away. Now, Pearl is set in the 1914, 15, okay? Roughly around there.
Okay.
It is the bizarro horror world version of The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh, love that.
And beautiful Technicolor. It's beautifully filmed, and it gives you the origin of the character of Pearl.
Okay.
Fantastic looking film. I mean, just a beautiful super wide screen, the Technicolor, and the kills. I mean, just a great film. So immediately after that, I saw X. This was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, basically, kind of environment. It felt like a 70s film, and it was terrifying, and it was great. Then I went on to watch Maxine, which is set in 1983 or 85.
Sunset Strip. It's like right in my wheelhouse. I can't believe I haven't seen it.
Oh, it is an 80s film. The music, the soundtrack, the cutting, the directing, the cinematography. It is an 80s film. I mean, they even use the Memphis design inspiration for the titles, and it's gorgeous. It is an 80s film. It feels kind of grungy and dirty and dark and great freaking movie. You have to watch it.
Promise I will. That'll be my homework.
There you go. And I do want a full report next month. Okay.
You got it.
And what's amazing is that Ty West made 3 very distinctively styled films. They're not the same genre, but they are the same genre. They are a film of the era. It's incredible because X was filmed first. It came out first, and then they did Pearl as a prequel. You can watch Pearl first, and as soon as you start watching X, you're like, oh, I remember this set. I remember that house. I remember that driveway. Only it's, 30, 40 years later, or something like 60 years later or something. It's just amazing. And you totally buy into it. Because I've seen like prequels where you'll go, okay, I see how it kind of connects. No, even though they're 2 distinctively styled films, they fit perfectly like a puzzle, like a glove. And
wait.
Yeah, Ty West is a genius, and I loved it. So you have to watch those. I mean, you will not be disappointed.
Got it. I promise I will. Like I said, that'll be my homework.
So the next film I saw was Sean Burns' The Devil's Candy.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Now I recently, before that I saw The Loved Ones, and now I watched The Devil's Candy. And based on those two, in a very demented, sick kind of way, I can't wait to see what he does with Dangerous Animals, which comes out in about a month or so.
But completely different films, though, right? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you see The Loved Ones, and you're like, oh, here's his next film, and you kind of think, oh boy, I know what to expect, and it couldn't be more different. Which I love that in a filmmaker. And then Dangerous Animals, from everything we've seen about that, radically different from the previous two. It's just it just shows a sense of style and taste that a filmmaker has, that they don't go back to the same three chords. I really love that. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, and I think that's the similarities that he has with Ty West. I mean, drastically different styles, but they're similar in the sense that they create a different environment, a different feel, different look. They make different films every time. Not to say that disparage other filmmakers who you go, okay, that is a Steven Spielberg film, and that's a Scorsese film, because they have a signature. These guys, they're like these people who have when they sign a document, their signature is different every time. That's Ty West and Sean Byrne. And the Devil's Candy is really demented. It's pretty intense. And really enjoyed it. The actor who plays the killer, what's his name?
Pruitt Taylor Vince.
That guy is really creepy. An amazing character actor. And it's great and it's great because I only seen him in character actor roles in before, and this is the first time I see him headlining pretty much a film.
You're gonna see him in Superman, by the way. He plays Pa Kent.
Oh wow. Yeah. I can't wait. He's amazing. And he has some sort of a congenital condition with his eyes where they twitch back and forth naturally.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And they use that, to play into his characters that he plays, especially in this role. It was very unsettling, to say the least, but very, very intense. Loved it.
He's great. He's great. What else you see?
And the final one I saw was a film called Ash, directed by Flying Lotus. He also did VHS 99 and Kuso. You know what? It wasn't a bad film, but you know what? Outer space or off-Earth horror has been done before. The standard was set with Ridley Scott's Alien, and it was okay. I mean, I love the actress. I forgot her name. She played the lead in this. She was, I think everybody did a good job, but it wasn't anything new for me.
Matt Orozco, the owner of Macabre Daily, and I did a video review of Ash, and we landed on it just like you did, pal. Tremendous skill, a lot of enthusiasm. But Flying Lotus came with this movie like when someone discovers like punk music 4 decades later, and they're like, dude, have you heard of The Clash? Like, have you heard of MC5? Did you ever listen to Television? The Sex Pistols? And you're like, 40 years ago, dude.
Right. I mean, had this film come out in 82, 83, 84, I think it would have been a bigger, more impactful and more of a hit. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of fell flat for me. And it's like, there was another film that I saw like that kind of did the same. It's like, yeah, we've been there. We've visited this.
It just borrows from too much and doesn't give enough back to own it.
You know what? I prefer Galaxy of Terror from Roger Corman over this one, because at least that knew what it was or it wasn't.
Insane.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, Daisy and I, we covered it on Filmjoe.
I know you did that episode because I listened to it, and that is why you'll never get that for homework, because I know you've already watched it.
Oh man, that movie was insane. But movies set in space, either horror or suspense or thrillers. Again, there was a movie back in, I think it was 81, maybe 83, roughly around that era, with Sean Connery, film called Outland.
I love that film.
Great.
It's slow in the middle, but the third act is fantastic. I mean, it's high noon in space. I love it. Yeah. I love the gritty, grimy look of it. And when the heads explode by the way, also that Outland, best spacesuits except for Alien. Alien's best spacesuit of all time, but Outland's a real close second.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that film. In fact, that movie was it Peter Hyams, I believe he directed that.
I'm gonna watch that this week.
Oh, it's a great film. Very underrated. In fact, it was supposed to be a Western initially. They went on ahead and, well, Aliens is hot right now, so why don't we do that, you know? But yeah, you know, Ashes, again, it's a little late to the show. It was what it was. So, but yeah, that's pretty much my unpacking of horror that I had for the month.
All right, my man, I'll make mine pretty quick here. I could not get off the 70s train of vampires that we did for Sinners. So I watched Count Yorga. I have to say this. These films star Robert Quarry as Count Yorga. No one knows who Robert Quarry is. He is such an undiscovered gem of the 70s. He's his vampire is kind of like more persnickety than terrifying. Like he just and it's very conscious. It's not like, oh, this happened by accident. He plays it that way. Like he's just like, I kind of rather be in like a hot bath. Like I definitely am gonna drink your blood, but I also like you're a little gross, and I'd much rather be getting a pedicure or being in a bath or getting like a rub down, like an old 70s rub down where some like there's like some dude is going like on your back, you know, with your karate hands, you know. Yeah. So he makes the films so much fun. But there are genuine moments of comedy and terror in the film, and they're almost shot because of lack of budget, like an Altman film. It's so bizarre. And then Return of Count Yorga just expands on it and does it even better. And there's it's got this extended chase scene in the third act that stars Craig T. Nelson as a cop named O'Connor, which, come on, how am I not going to love that?
Right, right.
Dining out on that. And then I want to bring this full circle around to Screambox. Now, Joe, you and I need to qualify this. We are paid by no one. So I'm going to say some really nice things about Screambox right now. And everyone needs to know that we are not sponsored, nor do we get a dime from anyone, including Screambox. But if anyone would like to give us money, we'll take it. Take all your spare change. I noticed that Screambox has been getting better and better and better with their selection. Full disclosure, I've had Screambox now for 2 years, and I felt for the first year it was the Terrifier channel. You know, it was a lot of super low budget horror, which I fully support, but not a lot of it. You had to really comb through it to get to the juicy bits. And slowly but surely, they started dropping in some black and white classics, some giallo, some creature features, became more varied. Deeper cuts, some nostalgia cuts. Their documentaries, by the way, have always been the most solid of all of their offerings. They have incredible documentaries on Creepshow. Watch the Creepshow documentary. Watch the Fright Night documentary. They're so good. So anyway, my point is, I was so impressed that I just posted, whoever on Instagram, whoever is curating for Screambox, hey man, you know, kudos, or look how sexist I am. Hey person, kudos. You're doing a fantastic job. Something along those lines. A couple hours later, I get a DM. Hey, that was super nice of you. I really appreciate it. Turns out it's a filmmaker, Tony Wash, who I was aware of because I had watched this movie, The Rake, which is really great. I mean, it's an indie film and it's a creature feature. The performances, he gets great performances out of his actors and great practical effects. And he's just one of those filmmakers that even though they are indie features and lower budgets, you can tell how much he loves the genre and how much fun he's having. And just like just the unbridled enthusiasm he has for what he's doing just pops off. So anyway, long story short, Tony and I start communicating and I had him on Macabre Daily. I'm like, look, dude, I got to interview you. Like, what's it like to curate for Screambox? So we had a really interesting conversation. That's going to post this week. By the time you're listening to this episode, it's already going to be up at Macabre Daily YouTube. So please go check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw I saw the post that you made on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, you got a response. I'm like, that was so sweet and so awesome.
Tony's responsible for some of the really great 70s movies that are popping up on Screambox. I watched Scream of the Wolf, which is a Dan Curtis made-for-TV movie starring Peter Graves. It is bonkers fun. Dan Curtis is just like, I'm thinking about writing a book about Dan Curtis and his made-for-TV horror, but, that seems like a lot of work, so I got to think about it. And also Creature from Black Lake. Anyway, my point is, ton of great films on Screambox right now, very varied, a lot of fun. But, and here's the asterisk. Tony sent me the pilot episode, which I watched today for a game show that he's already shot, I believe it's 6 episodes for. It's called Better Luck Than Chuck.
Yes. I've been
Right?
following that. I can't wait to I don't know when and where it's gonna pop up, but
Dude, this is the friggin' insane part of it. It's looking for distribution. I'm like, this is remote control of horror. And every single horror fan, anyone who calls himself a horror fan, is going to be in love immediately with the show. It's got 2 great hosts. You got the witch, and you have Chuck, of course. So the witch is a witch. And you have Chuck, who is her husband, who is a desiccated skeleton corpse that she makes watch horror movies. And the banter that they have with themselves, with the contestants, because I've watched the premiere episode. It's so much fun. The contestants are so much fun. Like, you know how like you'll watch a game show and it's great, but the contestants are drips. These people are so into it, and they're having just as much fun as the hosts, and it's a vibe. I mean, it is just a vibe that I can just dine out on all day long. We have to find, and I mean we, as in I'm throwing this out into, the ether. We have to find distribution for Tony in this game show because it's got to land somewhere. It's that good. So anyway, that's what I've been watching. And I'm going to write up a review of the pilot episode for Macabre Daily so people can read about it and really get excited. And maybe we can make something happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to reading that. Yeah, I saw the premise and the screenshots of it.
The set design actually is by Meredith, Tony's wife. It's sick. It's everything that you want it to be, and it's shot beautifully. So anyway, again, not a dime. I want to support the horror community, and here's a really great guy, and super creative, who works with super creative people, and they made something, and it's just sitting there, and that makes me nuts.
Well, it'll find its distribution. I'm sure of it. I mean, just from what I've read and the screenshots that I saw and the talent behind it, yeah, I'm sure it's going to find a home. And I can't wait. Alrighty. So, what do you say? Oh, yeah. So now, Sean, before we sign off here, what's my 70s Freaktacular homework for next month?
Okay, dude. Now, I'm going to give you the first movie, and if you've seen it and you don't want to do it, just say pass, and I'll give you another one. I've got 3 lined up. So you have to choose one of the 3. But the first one is Disney's The Black Hole.
Saw it.
Okay, so we're going to pass on that. The second one is The Car.
I don't think I saw it, but I know who's in it, and I remember the poster. Okay, that's a maybe. That's a maybe. And
okay, the third one, I feel like maybe you've seen it, but maybe you haven't. 1976 King Kong.
Definitely saw it. Yes. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go with The Car.
You don't have to take The Car. If you want to rewatch something, you can rewatch if you want.
Well, I remember King Kong, and I loved it. Rick Baker, I believe, did the ape effects in that one, and so I remember that very clearly. Jeff Bridges is in it. So yeah, no, you know what? I'm very curious about The Car because I remember, I don't remember seeing it because it kind of spooked me and scared me, and I didn't watch it. So The Car it is.
Okay, we're going to do The Car, buddy.
All right, sounds awesome.
All right, Joe. So typically this is where we announce next month's film, but we're going to do something a little different this time, and we're going to play a wild card.
I love it. Okay, so we don't know what it's going to be yet, and we'll let everybody know right before it comes out.
Yep, we'll make an announcement week before, get everybody excited. This way they don't come into it cold. But yeah, we're not going to give you a preview now because there's a couple of films that Joe and I need to suss out to pick the winner chicken dinner.
Perfect.
All right, Joe. What do you say we get out of here?
All right. Sounds like a plan. So join us next month and don't miss it. Folks, thank you so much for listening, and we really hope you enjoyed the show.
Please help support our podcast by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving a good review. Or another way to support us is to subscribe and follow us on Amazon and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Deezer and Audible and Boomplay, or wherever you get your podcast fix.
And you can also catch me on the Filmjoe Podcast with new episodes that drop every Wednesday on all the same platforms.
And you can find me over at Macabre Daily, and you can follow me on Instagram at SeanOC32.
Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, and on YouTube as well. That's where we have all of our regular episodes drop as well. All of these links, they can be found in our LinkTree below in the show notes. So, with that being said, I'm Joe.
And I'm Sean.
And this has been Fear on Film,
where horror lives.